Today we're going to work on solving systems by elimination. And what elimination means is getting rid of. And what you want to do is you want to have a positive number and a negative of the same number and the same letter. So I might have a positive number and letter and then a negative number with that same letter on top and bottom of each other. And if we do that, that's like saying 2 minus 2, which would eliminate. 2 minus 2 is 0. So that means I wouldn't have any more of those letters. Okay, so let's go ahead and try one of these. So when I look at this first one, I see x plus 2y. Now remember, if there's no number in front of that x, there's really a 1. So I have 1x plus 2y equals 10. And I have negative x, which really is negative 1x, minus negative y, which really is negative 1y, equals negative 6. I'm going to go ahead and rewrite those so I have a little bit more space. So I'm going to say 1x plus 2y equals 10. And then right under it, I'm going to write what it had right under it. So minus 1x plus, and that's not a plus, that's a minus. So let's go ahead and change that to a minus 1y equals negative 6. Okay, so I want my equals in the same spot. So those are in the same spot. Okay, and then I'm just going to add vertically or subtract vertically per column. So let's look at this first column right here. I have a 1x and a negative 1x. Well, 1 minus 1 is 0. So really, those two are eliminated. They're not there anymore because they turned into a 0. So we eliminated those two. So now I'm going to look at my other one, and I'm going to add or subtract each column. So let's look at this column right here. I have positive 2y minus 1y. Well, plus 2 minus 1, or positive 2 minus 1, that just leaves you with 1y. So I have 1y equals, and now I'm going to look at my last column, this column right here. I have 10 and then a negative 6. So 10 minus 6 is 4. So my answer is going to be 4. So 1y equals 4. Now remember, if we have a 1 in front of the y, it's just like saying y equals 4. So I found my y. I'm good there. Now I'm going to go ahead and see if I can solve my x. Okay? In order to solve x, we have to plug the y in wherever there was a y. Okay, I'm just going to take this first one right here. So I'm going to do this one right here. Okay, and I'm going to plug that 4 in where there's a y. And I see I have a y right next to this 2 times y. So instead of y, writing y right there, I'm going to go ahead and put a 4 in there. So I'm going to start it from the beginning, 1x plus 2. And anytime you plug something in, use these parentheses. 4, so I'm going to put that in parentheses, equals 10. And remember, when you have parentheses, that actually means you're going to multiply. Okay, now I'm going to simplify. 1x, I'm not going to simplify at all, plus 2 times 4 is 8. So I'm going to stick an 8 in there, equals 10. So we're good there. Now we want to get that 1x all by itself. How do we get 1x by itself? Well, we need to get rid of this 8. And it was a positive 8, so I'm going to say minus 8. So I'm going to say 1x equals 10 minus 8 is 2. And remember, just like our 1y equals 4, our 1x, that really just means x. So I'm going to say y equals 4 and x equals 2. And there's your answer for those ones. Okay, let's do that same process for number 2. If there's no number in front of the letter, I'm going to go ahead and put the number in just so I know it's there. Okay, and then I'm going to add or subtract vertically by each column. So I'm going to rewrite these. So I'm going to say, whoops, that's not going to work. So I'm going to say 2x plus 1y equals 4. And then I have negative 3x minus 1y equals negative 8. Okay, now I want to do vertically. So right away, I'm going to start with this row right here. Okay, and really what it says, because I'm taking the symbol that they have too, if they're positive or negative, I have a positive 2x minus 3x. Well, 2 minus 3 is going to give me a negative 1x. Just did it again. Not sure why that keeps happening. So I'm going to say negative 1x. Okay, and now I'm going to do my next column. Here I have 1y, a positive 1y minus a 1y. Well, 1 minus 1 is 0, so those two are eliminated. They're gone. We're not even going to focus on those. Okay, my equals are all lined up, so I'm just going to go ahead and put my equals in. Okay, and then 4 minus 8. If I have a positive 4 and I take 8 away, I'm going to get a negative 4. So I have a negative 1x equals negative 4. Well, remember when we talked about if you have a 1 in front of your x, it's really just an x? Well, this is a negative 1. It's not a regular 1, it's a negative 1. So to get rid of that, I'm going to divide by negative 1 on both sides. So now I'm just left with x equals a negative and a negative turn into a positive, and 4 divided by 1 is 4. So I have my first one, x equals 4. Okay, now I'm going to go ahead and take that 4 and I'm going to plug it into either the top or the bottom. This one, let's go and plug it into this one down here. So anywhere I see an x, like for example, I see an x right here, I'm going to, instead of writing x, I'm going to plug in 4, and I'm going to use parentheses around it. So I'm going to start with negative 3 times 4, because there is my x, so I'm going to plug that in, minus 1y equals negative 8. Okay, I'm going to do as much simplifying as I can. When I have that negative 3 times that 4, that's going to give me a negative 12 minus 1y equals negative 8. Okay, and I want to leave that 1y for last. Right now, the 1y still has that negative 12 in it, or minus 12. The opposite of minus 12 is plus 12. So I'm going to add 12 to both sides. Okay, so now I have negative 1y. Remember, these are gone. And take that negative in front of that 1y equals, if I have negative 8 and I add 12, I get to a 4, a positive 4. Negative 8 plus 12 is going to give me a positive 4. Well, just like previously, when we have a negative 1 in front of our letter, we can't have that. So I'm going to divide that by a negative 1, and if I divide that by a negative 1, I have to do the other side by a negative 1. So now I'm left with y equals 4 divided by negative 1 is negative 4. So I have my x equals 4 and my y equals negative 4. Okay, so let's look at number 3. Okay, the first thing I'm doing is looking, do I have to put a 1 in any of those spots? And when I look, they all have a number in front of them, so I don't have to do that. So I can just start by rewriting the problem. So I'm going to say negative 2x plus 3y equals negative 11. And right under that, I'm going to say 2x plus 2y equals 6. Okay, and now I'm just going to add or subtract vertically. Remember, if there's no symbol in front of it, it means it's adding. If there is a symbol, it's subtracting. Okay, so I see that I have a negative 2. So it's kind of like taking a negative number and then not kind of, it is taking a negative number and adding a positive one. So I have negative 2 plus 2. A negative 2 plus 2 is going to give me a 0. So these are the ones that are canceling out. Those are gone now. So now I'm just going to add vertically or up and down the other columns. So when I look at this first column, I see 3y plus 2y. Okay, so it's a positive 3 and a positive 2. That's going to give me a 5y equals, and remember when I keep our equals all together, negative 11, and that's a positive 6. So negative 11 plus 6 is going to give me a negative 5. Okay, so my y isn't by itself. It's saying 5y equals negative 5. So to get rid of that 5, I'm going to divide by 5 on both sides. Okay, so now I'm left with y all by myself, all by itself, and I have negative 5 divided by 5. That's going to give me a negative 1. So here my y equals negative 1. And I can plug that negative 1 into either the top or the bottom equation. It doesn't matter. This time, let's do bottom again. So I'm going to do this one right here. Okay, so when I get to that y, because y is that negative 1, we know what number that is. When I get to that y, instead of writing y, I'm going to go ahead and put that negative 1 in. So I have 2x plus 2. Now I'm getting to the y, so I'm using parentheses. Negative 1 is going to go inside because my y is negative 1 equals 6. Okay, now we're going to simplify. We can't do anything with 2x. That's still going to be a 2x, but we can take that 2 times that negative 1. 2 times negative 1 gives me a negative 2. So instead of plus a negative, I'm just going to write negative 2. Okay, and this 6 stays the same. Now I'm going to get y by, or sorry, not y by itself, but x by itself. I want to get x by itself. In order to do that, I have to get rid of minus 2. So the opposite of minus 2 is plus 2. So I'm going to add 2 to both sides. So these are all gone. Now I have 2x equals 6 plus 2 is 8. Okay? When I say 2 times x, the opposite of multiplying by 2 is dividing by 2. So I'm going to divide both sides by 2. And now I'm at x equals 8 divided by 2 is 4. So y equals negative 1, x equals 4. Okay? Let's skip number 4. So put a big X on number 4. And let's move on to number 5, which is on the back page. Okay, so let's look at number 5. We'll do 2 more. We don't have to do all of these. We're going to do 2 more. Okay, so first thing I'm going to look for, does every letter have a number by it? And when I look, yep, they do. Okay, so the next step is rewriting them so we can eliminate something. So I'm going to say 3x minus 5y equals negative 35. Okay, and I'm going to put my line right here, and then right under it, negative 2x plus 5y equals 30. Okay, and now I'm going to do each column, and I'm going to add or subtract depending on if it's a negative in front of it. So I'm going to do this column right here. So I have 3x minus 2x. Well, 3 minus 2 is 1, so I'm left with 1x. So I'm going to go ahead and write 1x under here. Now I'm going to do the next column. So I'm going to do this column. So I have a negative 5y plus 5y. Well, I see I have a negative and a positive, and it's both 5. So a negative and a positive, those will cancel each other out. So those are gone. Those are not here anymore. They turn to 0. Okay, now I'm at my equal symbol. So I'm going to go ahead and write that equal symbol because that's right in the middle. And then we're going to do our next column. We're just adding straight down. Okay, so I have a negative 35 plus 30. And I know it's plus 30 because there's not a negative in front of it. That's why I'm choosing plus 30. So negative 35 plus 30 is going to give you a negative 5. So I'm just going to go ahead and write that negative 5 right there. Negative 35 plus 30, negative 5. 1x equals negative 5. Remember that 1, as long as it's positive, we can just say x equals negative 5. Okay, now I'm going to choose my top or my bottom equation. Let's go top this time. So I'm going to do this one. And wherever I see an x, instead of writing x, I'm going to use parentheses and stick that negative 5 in. So now I'm going to do that top one. So I'm going to say 3. Nope, not with that. I'm going to say 3, and instead of x, I'm going to say negative 5. So put it in parentheses. That means I'm multiplying. Minus 5y equals negative 35. Okay, the first thing I'm going to do is distribute. So 3 times 5 is negative 15 minus 5y equals 35. Okay, so now I have to eliminate what I can. Okay, so the opposite of minus 15, I want to keep that negative 5y by itself. So the opposite of minus 15 is going to be plus 15. So I'm going to add 15 to both sides. And I'm just looking, see how this top one was a negative 35? See how that's a negative 35? I forgot to add that negative. So I'm going to go back, and I'm noticing it now, and I'm going to say minus 35 plus 15. So we're at minus 35, and we're adding 15. So these are gone. I'm going to say negative 5y is still there. My equals goes in the middle. And then negative 35 plus 15, it's still going to be a negative because the 35 is a bigger number than the 15, right? So it's going to be negative, and it's going to be 20. It's going to be a smaller negative number. Okay, y is not by itself, so I'm going to divide by negative 5, divide by negative 5. Now I'm at y equals negative and a negative turn into a positive, and that's going to give me a positive 4. So I have x equals negative 5, y equals 4. So this will be my solution. Okay, and we're just going to do one more. So let's look at number 7. I can find it on the page here. There it is. Okay, so here's number 7 right here. Okay, I'm gonna look. Are there any numbers that are missing? Yes, I don't have a 1 right here. So I'm gonna go ahead and put that 1 in there. Okay, and then I'm gonna rewrite. So I'm gonna say 1x minus 2y equals 5. And right under it, I'm gonna say negative 3x plus 2y equals negative 9. Okay, and now I'm just going to do each column, and I'm starting with this first column. I have a 1x minus 3x. They are not the same number, so they can't be eliminated. So now I'm just taking 1 minus 3. Well, 1 minus 3 is going to give me a negative 2. So I'm going to go ahead and put my negative 2x right there. And I'm going to look at my next column. So this column right here, I have minus 2y plus 2y. Well, I notice they have the same number. They're both a positive 2, and then the other one's a negative 2, and then they both have a y. So those ones I can go ahead and eliminate because I have a negative 2y and a positive 2y. So now those are left at 0. Okay, now I'm at my equals. I'm going to draw my lines when I'm at my equals. And 5 minus 9, 9 is a bigger number than 5, and it's negative, so I'm going to stick my negative in. And then 5 minus 9 is going to be 4, so negative 4. So now I have a negative 2x equals negative 4. I'm going to get my x by itself, so divide by negative 2, divide by negative 2, and now x equals a negative and a negative turn into a positive. So my first answer is x equals 2. Now I can pick either one of those to stick my next number in. I'm going to go at the top. Okay, and I found my x. So now I'm going to replace what says x with an actual number. So I'm going to go ahead and do that with the number. Okay, so I'm just going to come right below here, and I'm going to rewrite it. Instead of x, I'm going to put that number in. So I'm going to say 1 parenthesis, stick my 2 in that I found for my x, minus 2y equals 5. Okay, 1 times 2 is 2, so I'm going to distribute that. Minus 2y equals 5. Okay, I want to get that negative 2y by itself. Right now it's a positive 2, so to get rid of a positive 2, I'm going to subtract 2. So I have a negative 2y equals 5 minus 2 is 3. And then we have to get rid of that negative in front of that 2y, right? So we're going to divide by negative 2. Divide by negative 2, and you can have one of two answers. I can just leave it as y equals 3 over negative 2, or I can actually divide those out and say y equals 1.5, and it would be negative 1.5. So I'm just going to say y equals negative 1.5, and we'll accept either one of those. It doesn't matter if you have that fraction, 3 over negative 2, or if it's just y equals negative 1.5. Okay, so this is all you have for your homework today. When you go to your the actual homework piece, please do not do the review problems. So you're just doing the elimination ones that we have. So on your homework, do not do review, just do the elimination problems.